Today, I'm divorcing you. Get out of our house already. After being away on a business trip for 2 months, the husband returned and immediately said such things upon entering the house. Who could have predicted that he would bring back his mistress? As I was lost for words, the lover sat down on the sofa with a sense of entitlement. He gestured towards the entrance with his chin, clearly intending to kick me out as soon as possible. They wanted to get rid of the nuisance that was me quickly, but it wasn't going to be that easy. Regaining my composure, I responded clearly. Excuse me? But this is my house. What? What? In a way, the two of them, blissfully unaware, grinned, dreaming of a lavish life they would never have again, not knowing they were about to plummet into hell. My name is Mandy Johnson. After graduating from university, I worked at a corporation where I met Ryan, a senior colleague. He was caring and had mentored me when I joined the company. His mature demeanor was so appealing that I gradually developed feelings for him. Ryan seemed to like me too, and within 6 months, he confessed his feelings for me. Our relationship began immediately and progressed smoothly. However, Ryan was not without admirers. This became particularly noticeable 2 years after I joined the company. When Ashley Morris was hired, Ryan was assigned to mentor her, and I felt their closeness was unusually close. Ashley was beautiful and had a charm that seemed to appeal to men, and it felt like Ryan was not averse to her attention. Driven by jealousy, it became painful to see how close they appeared to be. Just when I was overwhelmed with these worries, Ryan surprised me by proposing marriage. Fearing that I might be abandoned, I was thrilled to be wanted and still remember how happy I felt. Of course, I accepted his proposal and we happily registered our marriage. At 26, I began a new life with the man I loved. But this was not just the beginning of happiness. What I envisioned as a glamorous married life turned out to be a stark and cold reality. The most shocking moment of our marriage was meeting Ryan's family. I was nervous about what kind of people they would be and let out a gasp when I first saw them. Wait, why is the president here? Turns out, Ryan's father was the president of the company we worked for. Ryan being the president's son was apparently a secret even within the company. Naturally, I had no idea, and the revelation was tremendous. Sorry for keeping it a secret, but I want to be a man who can take over the company on my own merits, not just because of connections. That's why I hid it. I see. I had no idea. But are you sure I'm the right one for you? It's because it's you, Mandy. Have more confidence. Though shocked, Ryan's words comforted me. The president, Kevin, despite his serious image at work, had a kind demeanor that made him easy to be around. My son will be very busy from now on. Having a kind woman like you, Mandy, by his side will surely help him stay motivated. Please take care of him, even though he's like this. Nodding vigorously, I was reminded anew of how remarkable Ryan was. What surprised me most, though, was the financial power of my in-laws. Delighted with our marriage, Kevin even prepared a house for us. The world we were to live in was so different, it was bewildering. Dad is amazing. I'll work hard to become a cool president like him. Encouraged by Ryan's ambition, I resolved to do my best as his wife. After discussing it with Ryan, I decided to quit my job and become a full-time housewife. Honestly, I would have liked to work a little longer. However, Ryan asked me to prioritize household duties so he could focus on his work, and I agreed. It's a bit sad to quit my job, but Ryan is working hard, so I can't complain. As I expected, Ryan started coming home much later after I quit my job. He must be dealing with more work than ever. Some days, he even stayed overnight at the company. Our married life had only started 2 months ago, yet we hardly spent any time together. Even though we were supposed to be living together, it felt lonelier than living alone. I understand you're busy, but I wish you'd pay a little more attention to home life. I mentioned feeling lonely several times indirectly, but it didn't seem to reach Ryan. At that time, his passion for improving his skills and handling his work was his life. If we have kids in the future, I won't be able to immerse myself in work like this. I know I'm making you endure this, but now is the time to work hard. Told that it was for our future life together, I had no choice but to endure. However, as months passed, the effort gradually lost momentum. When Ryan came home around midnight, even if I was awake, he showed no interest. You must be tired. I'll heat up dinner. You must be hungry. I made your favorite. Ah, I already ate something light at the burger shop on the way home. I'm tired, so I'm going to sleep. Ryan avoided eye contact and went straight to the bedroom. And in the morning, he barely glanced at the breakfast I had prepared before rushing out. Clearing up the untouched breakfast became a routine. When did it start that I threw away the food I woke up early to prepare? As I did this, I began to feel an immense sense of emptiness. I'm lonely. Before marriage, we had more time and could talk more. Now, there's hardly any meaningful conversation in our home. My days were reduced to mechanically performing household chores. On rare occasions, Ryan would be home on Sundays. On such a day, we had breakfast together for the first time in a long while. It's rare to have a day off like this, so why don't we go out? I found a cafe you might like. Since it's finally a day off, let me relax at home. You really don't get it. No matter how cheerfully I try to engage him, Ryan responds curtly. He quickly finished his breakfast and hurried off to the living room. Still, it's better than the days when he doesn't touch his food at all. As I hurried to finish my own, the doorbell rang unexpectedly early in the morning. Who could that be this early? It's only 8 a.m. Wondering, I watched as Ryan, who had been sluggish just moments ago, quickly stood up and dashed to the entrance. Perhaps he had ordered something? But I was shocked beyond words when I saw who he had let in. Wow, Ryan's house is really beautiful. Oh, long time no see, Mandy. You've aged a bit since I last saw you. Are you tired? It was Ashley, a junior colleague. Her speech, still filled with a student-like casualness, was grating on my ears. Why are you here? I came to celebrate Ryan's marriage. I've always been grateful to him, so I wanted to do something. I knew you were coming today, but I didn't expect you this morning. Ryan, now smiling brightly, was a stark contrast to earlier, and it irked me. If he knew she was coming, why didn't he tell me? And what was with that smile? No matter that she's a junior, watching my husband grin at another woman was not pleasant. Forcing a smile, I prepared some tea. You really didn't have to go to all this trouble. It's okay. I just wanted to see Ryan. By the way, have you gained some weight? Is there a baby on the way? Her smirking question hurt. I want a child too. But with hardly any time together, how could I possibly be expecting? It's just a little weight gain. A baby might be a bit further down the line. Oh, is that why Ryan isn't excited? Cheer up, you can lose a bit of weight if you try. Ashley's teasing had a clear bite to it. Just as I was about to call her out for her lack of tact, she placed a large paper bag on the table. Oh, and I brought a gift today. Please, take it. Hesitant, I watched as Ryan quickly reached into the bag. A tie? Dark blue with a small embroidery. Nice choice. I spent a lot of time choosing it, thinking it would suit you, Ryan. I know your taste well. Ashley really understands me well. It's great having such a cute junior. Ryan was genuinely smiling. Regardless of her being a junior, their closeness was questionable. Her timing was inappropriate, and the occasional hostility I felt from Ashley was nothing but stress for me. Trying to tune out, Ryan tapped my shoulder and said, "I'll drop Ashley off at her house. It's a good chance for a quick outing." What? You didn't want to go out when I asked, but now you will? If Ryan's going, I'm coming too. What are you talking about? If you go out too, who will do the housework? Laughing, he pointed at the dishes in the kitchen as if it were obvious that it was my job. As various emotions welled up inside me, Ryan cheerfully left the house with Ashley. What is this? Am I supposed to be a maid here? My frustration was not subsiding. Flipping through the abandoned calendar, I noticed summer was approaching. Next month is my birthday. Does Ryan even remember? I had hoped that he would at least remember our anniversary, but that hope was quickly dashed. This was evident when, less than a week after Ashley's visit, Ryan dropped another surprise. By the way, I'm going on a business trip out of the prefecture next week. As usual, please take care of the house. Another sudden trip. How long will you be gone? About a week. No, 2 months. It's long, but it's work, so it can't be helped. His frown suggested he was annoyed by my reaction. I am the future president. I'll have this kind of work from now on. It's bothersome if you make that face every time. Sorry, but next month is. I stopped myself. Mentioning my birthday seemed pointless. It wouldn't change his work commitments. I didn't say anything more to Ryan. During his business trip, I sent him messages during what I thought would be his free times. I thought he might reply if the messages were simple, but I barely got one response a week. Most were read and ignored. At best, he would return a single emoji. That was the same even on my birthday. While my parents and friends called or sent vibrant messages, not a word from my husband Ryan. Even Kevin, my father-in-law, made a point of visiting, but Ryan remained silent. Finally, I mentioned it was my birthday. The only response was a stamp saying okay. A wave of loneliness crashed over me. What am I to Ryan? I try so hard as his wife, but am I just deluding myself? Unable to bear these feelings alone any longer, I decided to have a serious talk about our future when Ryan returned. Ryan returned from his business trip, and as I waited in the living room, I saw him come home with a woman. It was Ashley again. What's going on? You just got back from your business trip. What is happening? I blurted this out as I looked back and forth between Ryan and Ashley. However, they boldly declared with smirks on their faces, "I'm divorcing you. Get out of our house already." Divorce. What are you talking about? I was dumbfounded by a situation far beyond my worst expectations. I had suspected something between Ryan and Ashley before, but who could imagine they would take such audacious steps? As I lost my words, the mistress confidently took a seat on the sofa. Ryan gestured towards the door, clearly intending to throw me out immediately. After my business trip, I've nearly completed my preparations to take over the company's leadership. I don't need a housekeeper anymore, so I've decided to live with the beautiful and obedient Ashley. Obedient, her. You really have no eye for women. Don't snap at Ashley just because she's younger and cuter than you. She's the one I truly love, and I won't forgive you if you say anything more. As if I were the villain, Ryan criticized me. A truly honest person wouldn't engage in such cruel infidelity. Ignorant of such basic decency, they both laughed triumphantly. Facing a reality I had avoided acknowledging, I felt my patience snap. I had intended to discuss things properly and even find a compromise if we were to separate. But with them pushing it this far, I wouldn't hold back either. I steeled myself to fight thoroughly and regained my composure before replying clearly. Excuse me? But this is my house. What? What? The two of them, mistakenly believing they still had the upper hand, grinned smugly. If they thought they could keep smiling, they were sorely mistaken. This is your house? Don't make me laugh. This house was given to me by my father. The ownership will eventually be transferred to me, so it can't possibly belong to you, Mandy. About that, the ownership has already been transferred to me. I presented a document to Ryan, who still refused to believe. This is the property registration certificate. It shows who owns the house. Ryan snatched the document and stared at it until he could no longer deny the truth. His face, which had been relaxed, gradually tensed up. Wait, I don't understand. It really is in Mandy's name. What did you do? You didn't forge documents, did you? Stop with the absurd accusations. I wouldn't commit a crime like that. Then why is it under your name? Are you saying my father transferred it to you? As Ryan panicked, I nodded in affirmation. Indeed, I had officially received the house from Kevin. Why would he give it to someone like you? Why, you ask? Because you're the worst kind of man. Cheating on your wife and treating her like trash. I then laid out a bulging envelope on the table alongside the document. Inside were numerous photos of Ryan and Ashley holding hands and entering a hotel together. I've been suspicious of you and Ashley for a while now. Recently, the distance between you two seemed off, so I had it investigated. Hiring a private detective and obtaining such evidence in less than a week was possible. Because Ryan had been so careless. He probably never imagined I would do something like this. Thinking of me as just a convenient housekeeper was his downfall. That can't be. Hiring a detective isn't cheap. I've been cutting back on living expenses to prevent anything unusual. Ryan inadvertently revealed that as well. Indeed, he never disclosed his salary to me. The money he handed over for living expenses was barely enough for meals for two. If used on household needs, I was left with almost nothing for personal use. It seems I haven't bought anything but necessities since we got married. Yet, he did as he pleased, coming home in the morning or bar hopping. There were times when I felt dissatisfied, but I never imagined it was intentional. You're quite petty, aren't you? But indeed, with no extra money, you probably never thought I could hire someone. Then who's the fool who gave you such an idea? Grinding his teeth, Ryan tore up the evidence photos. I had already backed them up, so it was pointless. Watching him waste his efforts, I continued. That would be your father, Kevin. If it weren't for him, I'd probably be crying and kicked out by now. While Ryan was away on his business trip, I battled loneliness alone. Even though I received birthday greetings from many, the emptiness in my heart persisted. I was so distraught, crying day and night, that I didn't notice the noise at the front door at all. What's this, Mandy? Crying on your birthday? It's dark and Ryan's not here. There was Kevin, who had used his key to enter the house, planning a surprise for me. He dropped a shopping bag full of overly festive decorations and cared for me like a real father. You ignored my birthday, but Kevin remembered. I confided everything you did to me. Kevin was as furious as if it were his own matter. He insisted on funding a consultation with a detective agency. That's why I was able to hire them. Tattling, what a sneaky thing to do. If you didn't like it, you should have come back sooner. I heard the business trip wasn't supposed to be for 2 months anyway. When I said that, Ryan and Ashley were visibly shaken. It had come to light when I consulted with Kevin. Though Kevin, the president, had instructed Ryan to go on a business trip. It was supposed to last only a month. I knew this month was Mandy's birthday. I had arranged the schedule so that you could be together on this important day. Kevin was puzzled because Ryan should have already returned by now. A few days ago, he had been informed that Ryan had returned from his business trip and was back at work as usual. If he hasn't come home, where could he be? Perhaps he's lying and staying with his mistress? Having suspected an affair, Ashley's face immediately came to my mind. As expected, Ryan had been spending the last month at her place, enjoying their time together. Some of the evidence photos I showed earlier included images of the two of them leaving Ashley's house. As expected, an insidious and charmless woman would stoop to such dirty tricks. Without youth or beauty, you can't do anything unless you drag others into your mess. Ashley, standing behind an agitated Ryan, also became irate. She started ranting about being photographed at her home, accusing me of invasion of privacy. It's sad to be used and then discarded, but taking it this far is just lashing out. I could sue you for this, you know? Go ahead and sue if you want to. In such a disadvantageous position, if you can still make a fuss in court, go right ahead. At my words, Ashley was at a loss for words. Frustrated, she hid behind Ryan and yanked on his arm forcefully. Hey, Ryan. Do something. This woman is ruining my happiness. Don't panic. She's just a stranger. Dad is kind, and since I'm his real son, he'll definitely believe us. Ignoring me, Ryan pulled out his smartphone, presumably to contact Kevin. Too bad for you. Your sob story might have worked on my dad. But my words carry more weight because I'm valuable to the company. Just watch as Dad takes my side. Ryan quickly dialed a number and put the phone to his ear. Then, the ringtone came from the back room. Ryan recognized the familiar tune and paled. That tune, isn't that Dad's ringtone? Before I could answer, the door to the back room burst open. The person who emerged was Kevin, glaring at Ryan and heaving a big sigh as if he was utterly disappointed. I'm so disappointed in you. I've seen the evidence photos, and despite hoping they were lies, here we are. Wait, it's not like that. And why is Dad here anyway? I called him. I thought we'd talk about various things once Ryan returned from his business trip. I had planned to settle serious matters like infidelity and divorce today. More importantly, I wanted Kevin to see Ryan's usual behavior. So I had asked him to hide here beforehand. I was prepared to some extent, but I never thought you would be this brazen. How do you explain this? Well, this is, you see. Ryan, previously so defiant, now stuttered like a child in front of his father. Well, it's just. Mandy only tells stories that suit her. She just lounges around at home, getting uglier and uglier. Besides, her housekeeping is so sloppy that I didn't even want to come home. With a husband like you, anyone would be stressed and tired. Besides, I never felt her housekeeping was sloppy. On the contrary, I was quite impressed with how well she kept the house. I had never been thanked by Ryan for my housekeeping. It was always taken for granted, so Kevin's kind words resonated deeply. You know, I've been enduring a lot, right? I thought you were working hard for our future. And there's not even a single apology for all this? What? Why should I apologize? It's your fault we're in this mess. And now I've lost my house too. If anyone should be apologizing, it's you. Ryan's frustration escalated as he became increasingly heated. I felt genuine fear and moved closer to Kevin. I'm the future president. I'm going to be someone important. It's an inconvenience to be dragged down by a petty woman like you. How can you say such things to someone you once loved? Loved? Don't make me laugh. Ryan sneered coldly, pulling Ashley close to show off. I never loved you. I just thought if I flattered you, you'd do the housework. You're nothing more than a maid who doesn't cost a penny. Ryan's smile was strained, knowing he was making excuses. Unaware of the awkwardness, Ashley smiled happily, thinking she was on the winning side. Fine. I'll give you this house and everything else. With a small house like this, if I really work, I can build as many as I want. After all, I'm the future president, a man destined to be wealthy. What are you talking about? There's no way you're going to be the next president. What? As Ryan blustered, Kevin sighed deeply. He had told me that depending on Ryan's responses, he might consider firing him. Even as a parent, he hoped for some sign of repentance. But that was now unlikely. Kevin shook his head wearily and said, Ryan, you're fired as of today. You don't need to come to the company anymore. The same goes for you, Ashley. You too have disrupted the company's morale. And you've made my family terribly sad. Kevin's hand gently stroked my back. His warmth felt profoundly comforting. Damn it. Do whatever you want. I'll live with Ashley in true love. I never want anything to do with you people again. As they tried to leave, I stopped them abruptly. There was still an important matter to discuss. Wait, I'll be seeking compensation through my lawyer. So don't even think about running away. Ashley, that includes you. Huh? I don't have any money, so that's impossible. Then you'll have to borrow it and pay it back. What you did deserves that much. As I glared, Ashley muttered after a moment's thought. This is the worst. I should have never gotten involved with Ryan. What? What are you talking about? If there's love, isn't this easy? Then use that power of love to make money for me. I'm not interested in guys who are broke. Abandoned by the sulking Ashley, Ryan chased after a much younger woman. That must have been the true love Ryan wanted. I didn't think it would last long. Are you okay? You must be tired. Take some rest. Thank you. I'm sorry to have put you in such an unpleasant role, Kevin. It's fine. I was happy you relied on me. But now, what about the succession issue? Kevin thought for a while, stroking his chin, then suddenly turned his eyes to me. Do you have any job prospects, Mandy? No, not at the moment. I plan to start looking once things settle down. Then, why don't you work for us again? We're short 2 employees, and we could use the help. Surprised by the unexpected offer, I asked if he was sure, and Kevin nodded emphatically. Someone as serious as you would be valued at any company. This is, you could say, headhunting. What do you think? Tears welled up in my eyes as I nodded several times. It had been tough being rejected by Ryan to that extent. Although I had silenced him, I still didn't feel up to thinking about what to do next. But if they were seeking my help, I wanted to respond. I am inexperienced, but I look forward to working with you. After enduring a long hell, I thus began a new life. Half a year has passed. I had returned to the company as Kevin's secretary. Originally, when Ryan became president, I thought studying for a secretary certification might come in handy, and it has. My salary has increased from before, and I've been living more freely, both personally and professionally. One day, during lunchtime, I received a call from a familiar number. Ryan? Why now? I hadn't seen Ryan since the day we parted. Our divorce had already been finalized, and I had already demanded a settlement of $50,000. I didn't care what kind of life Ryan, chased by monthly payments, was leading. Yet, after such a breakup, I hadn't expected him to contact me. After ignoring several calls, irritated by the continuously ringing smartphone, I inadvertently answered. I'm on a break at work, what is it? You finally answered. Help me, Mandy. Ryan's voice over the phone trembled as if he was scared. I silenced him for a moment. I don't know what happened, but I have no obligation to help you. Aren't you confirming your true love with a beautiful and wonderful wife by now? True love, my foot. Ashley was the worst woman. Ryan, showing regret, started explaining what had happened. After our divorce, Ryan had lost all his savings and was living with Ashley in a small apartment. While his pride was hurt, he worked part-time to earn living expenses. But Ashley trampled on Ryan's efforts. She was cheating on me with several other men. And because I was the poorest, she planned to dump me. For Ashley, the appeal was not Ryan himself, but his title as the next president. Having lost that, he was readily discarded as if he were no longer needed. I borrowed money to buy her a car to win her back. But she disappeared with the car. Now I'm being chased by debt collectors. It's the worst. It seemed that being betrayed by Ashley really got to him. As I could tell, he was slumping even over the phone. This isn't something new. Did you really not realize it until now? What? What do you mean? Did you know about Ashley's affair? Though I felt bad for the flustered Ryan, I had known about her true nature for a long time. That was from the photos gathered during the investigation into Ryan's affairs. The detective agency had been watching Ashley's house closely, because there were frequent comings and goings, and at that time, men other than Ryan were also seen entering and leaving. Of course, I haven't shown those photos to Ryan. The only evidence I showed him was strictly of his own infidelities. It wasn't the information I was interested in, so I didn't care. If you had told me from the beginning, this wouldn't have happened. Ryan, trembling with anger, took a deep breath and then suddenly spoke in a kinder tone. After all, I guess a smart woman like you is the best for me. Weren't you lonely too? Let's start over. The way he spoke as if we were just starting out made my spine shiver. Unfortunately, I'm fulfilled both in my work and private life. No matter how free I am, I absolutely can't be with someone like you. Then, at least lend me some money. If the debt collectors find me, I don't know what they'll do to me. He continued to whine without listening to me. Tired of the hassle, I hung up in the middle of the conversation and set my phone to block his calls. What happens to Ryan from here on is none of my concern. And Ashley will soon learn her lesson too. Ashley is good at catching the wrong kind of men, isn't she? Ashley's cheating partners, as it turns out, were all men with bad reputations. Some were forced to work to pay off debts or had histories of wrongdoing, backgrounds that were too messy to get involved with. Ryan was still a small fry compared to them. I want to live seriously so I don't end up like that. I also want to repay Kevin's kindness. From that day on, I never heard from Ryan again. Later, the lawyer reported on the settlement claim. Apparently, Ryan had settled the payment in full. However, the source of the money was from a dubious financial institution. And due to the debt, he was being used like a tool there. He was forced to work from morning till night for barely minimum wage, and had to keep taking part-time jobs to the extent that it aged him significantly. He supposedly still lives nearby, but I probably wouldn't recognize him even if we passed each other on the street. Meanwhile, Ashley is still making repayments. As I predicted, she was deceived by the boyfriend she had, and is now being forced to work at a strip club. Ashley, who used to play with men, is now being deceived by another man, contributing to him by working every night. The once young and beautiful Ashley now suffers from lack of sleep, rough skin, and a hoarse voice from drinking. I still remember feeling pity for how far a person can fall. I am still working as Kevin's secretary, but he has consulted me about considering a generational change soon. If someone is as reliable as you, Mandy, I could leave the company in your hands. Don't say such things, let me study more. I still have a lot to learn from you, Kevin. I may not be capable enough now, But someday I want to become a respectable person who can confidently take over the company. I think that's the best way I can repay him. I never liked you from the start. There's no place here for a fat monster like you. Go home. On my brother's wedding day, my brother's bride showered me, who was pregnant, with a torrent of abuse. It was my dear brother's wedding. I really wanted to attend. But after being told off like this, even I couldn't bear it. The situation took an unexpected turn after I declined my brother's wedding. My name is Anna, 30 years old. I'm a working mother juggling part-time work and housework. I married my husband, Theo, who is 2 years older than me 3 years ago. He is a buyer and salesperson at a major department store. Due to his fresh appearance, his sales performance at the department store is always good. We wanted a child from the start, and just recently, after fertility treatment, we were blessed with our long-awaited first child. I was particularly thrilled when I found out I was pregnant, because I desperately wanted a child with the man I loved. When I told my husband, he too was overjoyed and jumping for joy. Theo, it looks like we've finally been blessed. What? You mean? Yes, it's our child. I'm finally pregnant. Really? Wow. I'm so happy I could cry. My husband hugged me and said thank you with tears in his eyes. Since then, we've been looking forward to the day when we can meet our child who will be born soon. In the midst of all this, there was one more person who was eagerly awaiting the birth of my child. That was my older brother, Hugo. Since we were little, my brother, who is 4 years older than me, has always adored me. That hasn't changed even now that we're adults and we, as siblings, are still close. Of course, I had also told him about the fertility treatment. So when I announced my pregnancy to him, he was as happy and tearful as my husband. I heard that even our mother at home was so ecstatic she couldn't believe it. Whether it's about marriage or pregnancy, my brother always wishes for my happiness. And I love my brother just as much. One day, 2 months into my pregnancy, I received a call from my brother. What did you want to talk about, Hugo? Upon asking him right away, my brother scratched his head embarrassingly and said, Well, I'm getting married. What? Getting married? You, Hugo? Hugo went to boys' schools in middle and high school, and even in college he was in the science department, which had few women, so I never heard of him having a girlfriend. He didn't even respond to any of the arranged marriage meetings our parents had suggested a few times. I think he has a good-looking face, but his shy personality has been a big problem, and he was always the type who was distant from women. And now, all of a sudden, he's getting married. I really couldn't hide my surprise. I guess it's no wonder you were surprised, huh? If someone suddenly tells you something like this. Well, yeah, so what's she like? She's 3 years younger than me, so 1 year older than you, Emma. Her name is Mila. We met through work. Through work? Well, she's the daughter of president of a company I deal with. The president's daughter? Wow, do things like that really happen, like in a drama? As I opened my eyes wide in surprise, my brother chuckled and said, You are exaggerating. Even though she's the president's daughter, she also works hard at her father's company. Since we were both getting on in years, we decided to get married sooner than later. Seeing my brother unusually serious, I felt a warm feeling in my heart. I was glad that my brother, who has always wished for my happiness, finally had someone important in his life. 1 month later, my brother came to our apartment with his fiancée. Nice to meet you, I'm Mila. I'm dating your brother. Hugo's fiancée Mila was a beautiful woman with a good style, exactly the type of a career woman. I felt deeply that she was a person from a different dimension than me. Nice to meet you, Mila. I'm Emma, his sister. Oh, so you are the little sister. After Mila responded to my greeting, she looked at me intently. I felt as if I had been glared at for a moment. But was it just my imagination? But it seemed like that premonition was correct. After that, she didn't talk to me much and kept talking to my husband instead. Theo, you were amazing, working at that long-established department store. Suddenly engaged in conversation by her, my husband responded with a flustered, Well, yeah. I haven't been able to go to department stores lately. If I go shopping next time, could you pick something out for me? Sure, thank you. I'll be waiting for you. This fiancée, her attitude towards my husband and me was obviously different. Moreover, it seemed as though she was sending a sticky gaze at my husband. But I didn't want to ruin the mood, and most importantly, she was the one chosen by my brother. Just as my brother had wished for my happiness, I also wanted him to be happy. I didn't want to ruin my brother's happiness for a silly reason like her being cold. Despite feeling many suspicions, I said nothing. Since then, Mila has been visiting the department store where my husband works frequently. Today too, my husband came home and started to grumble with a sigh. Mila came to my place again today. What, again? I'm sure she came yesterday too, right? Yeah, it's nice that she's buying a lot of stuff, but even when I'm dealing with other customers, she just fasts in. The other salespeople are also troubled. It's a bit frustrating. I had no idea that was happening. According to my husband, she apparently spends tens of thousands of dollars every time she shops. While it's good for the store, my husband was worried, saying, no matter if she's the president's daughter, isn't her sense of money a bit off? Several months later, the long-awaited wedding of my brother came. By this time, I was in the later stages of pregnancy, and my belly had grown noticeable. The once-in-a-lifetime wedding of my beloved brother. I'm sure it will be a wonderful ceremony. My heart was dancing from the moment I left the house. I was wearing the maternity party dress I had bought for this day. The incident happened when I arrived at the venue and was headed to the reception. I'm Emma, the groom's sister, and this is my husband, Theo. When I gave our names to the woman at the reception, she looked troubled. You are the sister, right? Yes, Hugo's sister. That's strange. The next moment, she said something unbelievable. We were told that the sister will not be attending. What? What are you talking about? I'm the groom's sister. Of course I'm attending. But we were told that the groom's sister will be absent due to a prior appointment. Wait a minute. There must be some mistake. Both my husband and I are definitely attending. Theo's name is on the guest list, so he's participating. It seems that the only person marked as absent is the sister. What? Caught off guard by the unexpected event, I was at a loss for words. Instead, my husband asked the receptionist, who gave you the information about my wife's absence? It was from Mila, the bride. Mila did? My husband's expression stiffened as if he had guessed something. He demanded to the reception, please call Mila here. Soon, Mila and woman who appeared to be her mother showed up. To confirm the truth of the matter, I confronted Mila. Mila, what's going on? I've been marked as absent. Oh, that? Well, that's how it is. Wait a minute. I never said I was going to be absent. Then she gave a snort of laughter and said calmly, I couldn't care less about your opinion. You were in the way. So I decided you wouldn't participate. Understand? What are you talking about? To begin with, I never liked you. Mila, what are you? Just because you have a somewhat handsome husband and brother, you act so innocent. I didn't like you from the moment we first met. Despite your plain face, the name Emma is too fancy for you. You are a hindrance to my happiness. Do you understand? I thought she was cold only to me, but I didn't expect to be hated this much. My body froze and I couldn't find the words to speak. Looking down on me, she spat out coldly. Didn't you hear me? You are in the way. There is no seat for a pregnant monster like you, so go home. I was speechless, but the surprises didn't stop there. Following Mila, even her mother started saying things that made me doubt my ears. Mila is right. It would be a nuisance if a flump like you were at Mila's wedding. It's beautiful enough that Mila has to become family with you. Mila came at me, who was turning pale, saying, Go home now. Can you leave quickly because you are in the way? You are an eyesore, ugly pregnant monster. At the moment, the anger I had been holding back exploded. Just as I was about to retort, my husband raised his voice instead of me. What the hell are you saying to my wife? I never thought Mila would be so rude. That's enough. Let's go home, Theo. What? Are you sure? I don't want to be here anymore. Let's go home. I forcibly pulled my husband's arm and left the venue. Serves you right. Mila and her mother continued to hurl abuse until the end. Several hours later, my brother rushed into our house. Emma, Theo, Mila did something terrible. I'm truly sorry. I asked my brother, who was apologizing with a sorry look. It's not your fault, Hugo. What happened to the ceremony? I asked the guests to leave in the middle of the ceremony. I couldn't possibly continue the ceremony after what happened to my little sister. Why, that was a wise decision. Oh, why? Why did Mila do such a thing to me? Well, I was shocked when I heard about it too. What? Then my brother quietly opened his mouth. It seems Mila was jealous of you. What? Jealous? You and I have a good relationship as siblings, right? On top of that, Theo is quite handsome. She seemed to have been annoyed with you. Well, at the peak of happiness being pregnant, for some reason. What's that? Was it because my husband was handsome that she repeatedly shopped more than necessary at my husband's department store? I couldn't find any more words to say for such a stupid reason. While caring about me, my brother continued to talk. She didn't like the attention being drawn to you, a pregnant woman, more than her own wedding. All the guests would naturally talk to you, the pregnant woman, wouldn't they? Asking things like, how many months are you? Or you look so happy. She seemed to have hated that. I can't believe it. Just for that reason? My brother, who was busy with work, seemed to have left all the preparations for the ceremony to her. When I tried to say something, I was told that the bride is the main character of the ceremony. I couldn't interfere. So he didn't even know that I had been made absent with my consent. I'm really sorry for hurting you. It's my fault. My brother apologized again. The next day, we were told by our mother to come to our parents' house, and we hurriedly headed there. There was Mila's father, who looked furious with a red face. With his daughter Mila and wife in tow, he seemed quite grumpy. Mila, don't you have something to say to Emma? When her father urged her in a cold tone, she clicked her tongue and threw a tantrum. Why should I have to apologize? I'm the main character of the ceremony. You, cut it out. At this point, Mila's mother interjected, seeming to side with Mila. But why should Mila have to apologize? The one at fault is all this woman. Mila and her mother, showing no remorse, looked like demons. Then Mila's father opened his mouth tremblingly. You guys, who are you talking to? What are you saying to these people? He looked devastated. I'm really sorry for what my daughter and wife have done. Please, I beg you, can't you forgive us for this incident? No matter how much he apologized, it was impossible to forgive them. I spoke out against Mila's father. How can we forgive you? I couldn't attend my dear brother's wedding, you know. Do you think we can forgive you after all the terrible things that were said? Oh my, I'm in trouble. If you don't forgive us, our company... Yes, the father was apologizing just to protect his own company. The company run by Mila's father is a wholesale dealer dealing with imported goods, and has a business relationship with my brother's company. But in this case, my brother was furious and directly requested his boss to stop dealing with that company. That's why he is begging his sister for forgiveness, hoping to resume business with my brother's company. I didn't know that my brother's company had such power, but apparently in terms of status, my brother was above Mila, even though she was the president's daughter. The father was desperately apologizing as much as possible, but I could see through his intention of ultimately is to protect the company, which made me even more uncomfortable. There's no point in talking any further. I firmly told Mila and her family, I will never associate with your name. If you marry my brother, I will break off ties with him too. Wait a minute, my father is apologizing so much. Don't you have a human heart? I glared sharply at Mila, who was verbally abusing me. A human heart? The one who stood up, traveled, and talked. Who should be apologizing? Don't make your father apologize so desperately. Your stupid selfishness has ruined my brother Hugo's happiness. A woman like you doesn't deserve my brother. Know your place, you trashy woman. With those words, I kicked Mila and her family out of my parents' house. Afterwards, I heard that my brother and Mila had broken off their engagement. She was kicking up a fuss, saying, I don't want to break up. And in the end, my brother had to hire a lawyer. As a bonus, my brother arranged for a consolation payment for me. I was reluctant, but my brother told me it's the least I can do to apologize, and I gratefully accepted. The misfortune of Mila's family continued, and her father's company eventually went bankrupt. It seems they couldn't keep up the business after my brother's company, which was the backbone of their operations, stopped dealing with them. In this incident, they lost everything. Looking back, it was really their own doing. It's only natural that she, who could easily spout such abusive language, would face such retribution. On the other hand, I successfully gave birth and I'm living happily every day. My brother seems to have recovered from the broken engagement and comes over to my house almost every day to dote on my daughter. You don't switch with me. What, Theo? You've been holding her all this time, haven't you? Louise, I'll be leaving in an hour. Oh well, can't be helped, Ben. Haha. My husband and brother were competing for my newly born adorable daughter. Listening to their pleasant conversation, I felt a warm feeling in my heart. I heard she's getting married. How pretty! Sighing, I listened to my mother who called me nothing. She's really going through with it. Unbelievable. I'm so proud. I'll have to attend. But what about you, Jessica? She did say to invite you. I was lost for words when my mother asked me the question. How could she invite me to her wedding so casually? Why don't you come? You might see something interesting. At her cryptic words, I titled my head in confusion. It seemed my mom didn't plan to attend Sophia's wedding willingly. Just see for yourself. Trusting my mother's words, I decided to attend the wedding, though I wasn't keen on it. My name is Jessica. I usually work as the editor-in-chief of a magazine. I have loved creating things since I was a child. I often received compliments for my writing in my school days. Maybe because of that, I graduated with a degree in the humanities. I joined a magazine publishing company and devoted myself to work every day. Thanks to that, I was promoted to editor-in-chief last year. The job is tough, with deadlines disregarding day and night. Although it's hard, I never disliked it because I was doing what I love. Besides, I have a loving husband at home. Having a family means having a comforting place for me. I think I can finish work early today. I'll make something John likes. Muttering to myself, I started the remaining work. I finished work on time and did the shopping. I had been staying overnight at the office quite often lately, so I decided to prepare something delicious. With the image of a delighted John Abban coming home in mind, I went grocery shopping for dinner and got a little pricey bottle of wine. As soon as I got home, I started cooking. Perfect. John's favorite omelette rice. I can't wait for him to taste this homemade dish after such a long time. With anticipation, I waited for John's return. Even after 5 years of marriage, I still love my husband dearly. John and I met through our friend. At first, I suspected him of being a playboy because of his flashy appearance. But I fell for him when he expressed his feelings earnestly, and we eventually became a couple. After dating for about a year, we got married. Although we lived together, with John's regular office job and my irregular lifestyle, we can't meet every day. I am grateful to my husband, who supports my job and helps with the household every day. He should be coming home about now. I glanced at the clock in the living room. 6:30 p.m. John should be coming home soon. As I sat in the living room watching TV, I heard the front door unlock. As I went to greet him at the entrance, I was about to witness a shocking scene. "Oh, really?" The moment the door opened, my sister Sophia was there, arm in arm with my husband. Perhaps they hadn't expected me to be there. They had been chatting cheerfully up until that moment, but instantly fell silent and froze. "What is this?" I was in disbelief, unable to understand the situation. Even with a close family relationship, would it be normal to link arms with your sister's husband? And the level of comfort in their distance could hardly be considered accidental. I couldn't keep calm. "Oh, till I say I was staying overnight again today?" Flustered, John asked a question without looking at me. It's true that originally I was supposed to stay at the office until today. However, my work progressed faster than I thought, so I was freed from staying overnight consecutively. "Do I need someone's permission to come home?" As I answered John's question, he seemed even more flustered. "Never mind that. And why is Sophia here with you?" That's John. Did you intentionally cheat on me with my sister? You were even arm in arm, looking so close." "You got it all wrong." "No, really? You admit to cheating. Did you bring Sophia home knowing I'd be staying at work?" Let's not." I questioned the two of them, carried by my emotions. I knew it in my head. The closeness of these two was not normal. Most likely, they were having an affair at home when I was away for work. John, unable to find any words to respond, kept repeating, "That's not it," and "but." As I continued glaring at John, Okay, it's my fault, alright?" Sophia, showing no remorse, spoke with a bored expression. Even though we're sisters, I doubt her nerves. "You're telling me you feel nothing about laying your hands on your sister's husband?" To my question, Sophia brazenly replied, "So what? I just fell in love with John too. Isn't that natural?" Sophia has always been a child who wants what others have since she was little. I, myself, have given her many of my favorite things. But a marriage partner is different. There's no option of handing over a husband to someone else. As I continued questioning Ben, letting my emotions lead, Sophia sighed and said, "Sis, are you always so uptight? Is that why John is tired of you?" Faced with Sophia purposely stepping on my landmines, my rage exploded. I stuffed John's clothes and belongings randomly into a Boston bag and forcefully threw them out of the house. To John, who was apologizing through the front door, "How can I possibly forgive you for cheating on me with my own sister?" After screaming at him, I broke down crying. The betrayal of a husband I trusted, and the other person is my own sister. crushed by frustration and sadness from this unbelievable drama-like situation. I finished the wine I bought by myself and fell asleep like a log. I didn't want to think about anything anymore. 2 days later, I had called my mom to a restaurant near the station. "Oh, that's awful. You must have been hurt." My mom divorced my dad when I was in elementary school. Since then, she worked as a single mother and raised us. A few years ago, she remarried a man she had been dating for a long time. Now, with child rearing over, she's been enjoying her free time. "I knew Sophia had that kind of personality from a long time ago, but with John, I never imagined." My mom clearly showing her disgust, and for good reason. The reason for her divorce from our father was his infidelity. That's why she despises those who cheat from the bottom of her heart. "I wonder how it turned out like this." With a resigned voice, my mom said with a sigh, "Sorry, but I can never forgive them. Even if they're family, there are things you can and can't do." At my words, my mom silently nodded. "It's up to you. Cut them off or do whatever you like. Don't worry about me. But remember, your mother is always on your side." My mom smiled at me as she said that. I'm sure no one else could comfort me from the heart like this from my mom. A few days later, I filled out the divorce papers and left them at home as I headed to work. During the several days when I had to stay at the company again, I was hoping to have John come and sign the divorce papers. I didn't want to see his face. If I did, the anger would rise again. I can't do anything about what's already happened. My top priority now is to return to the peaceful life I used to have, rather than being frustrated all the time. I have to stand up on my own feet. With a burst of spirit, I focused on my work and forgot about the unpleasant things. If I work, I can forget about her. A few days later, I was finally freed from the hellish workload. By then, I was feeling a bit depressed about going home. There's no one waiting for me at home, and I have no one to wait for. I arrived home in tears, my heart torn apart by loneliness and sadness. Why do I have to cry? It's too painful to suffer so much even I'm the victim. The more I cry, the more I can't help but remember the two of them. I bit my lip as I looked at the completed divorce papers. I will definitely be happier than those two. I'll stop crying now. That day, I made a strong vow and restarted my life anew. 3 years later, I'm still working hard as ever. After the divorce was finalized, I asked for alimony from the two of them, and we've been estranged ever since. Sophia, who has been living aimlessly without a regular job, complained a lot about the alimony to me, but I didn't have to listen to her. She apparently went to my mom to ask for financial help, but of course, my mother told her to solve it herself. I moved out of the apartment I was living in with John, and now I live comfortably alone in a high-rise apartment near my workplace. I've recently started to think that this isn't so bad after all. One day, I received a call from my mom. You're having a wedding ceremony. You may have caused some nerve. I sighed at my mother's phone call, which she made with a laugh. They're really doing it. Unbelievable. Stealing her own sister's husband. They're showing off their happiness. I bet it was Sophia who insisted on doing it. I'll attend because I'm a good parent. But what will you do? They told me to tell you. Asked my mother. I was at a loss for words. How can they invite me to their wedding with such feelings? Why don't you come? You might see something interesting. I titled my hat at her suggestive words. My mom seems to have no intention of attending Sophia's wedding honestly. Well, let's see. Believing in my mom's words, I decided to attend the wedding I was not interested in, just for the formality. And then, on the wedding day, I was at the wedding venue with my mother. I never thought I would attend my sister's wedding with such mixed feelings. My mom looked somewhat happy, ignoring my gloomy feelings. Not so many people are here. At my mom's words, I looked around. There are indeed fewer attendees than at my wedding. That's not surprising. John and I have common friends, so the divorce story should be known. Sophia's friends might be attending, but of course, our relatives refused to participate. John's parents are making faces like they don't know how to react. I can't believe Sophia wanted to have a wedding in this situation. I wonder if there are any people in this room who are truly happy for them. Finally, it's time to start the ceremony. The ceremony that no one could sympathize with started. The only person who was moved to tears was the bride, Sophia. Seeing her tears, I felt a surge of anger welling up within me again. I glared sharply at her face, as if she was saying, I've struggled to be happy. During the ceremony, my eyes met Sophia's mom's. Noticing my intense stare, Sophia smirked as if triumphant. Seeing that, my mom laughed out loud. I wonder if there's ever been such a brutal atmosphere at a wedding. The ceremony ended, and we moved to the reception hall. My mom cheerfully took a seat in the reception hall. Now comes the surprise! Unable to understand my mom's words, I waited for the start of the reception. Eventually, the announcement began, and the reception started. After the toast speech, the host announced, "We have a surprise here." Sophia looked delighted, covering her mouth in a gesture of surprise. My mom, with a smug, lovely smile, lightly tapped my shoulder, and stepped forward in front of the bride and groom. My mom had secretly arranged for a speech opportunity for Sophia and John. With a bow, my mom started reading from the script she had wrote. Sophia, John, congratulations on your wedding. I never thought the day would come when I would bless your marriage like this. She hinted that this wasn't just an emotional speech with her opening remarks. The venue began to buzz. I held my breath and listened to my mom's words. See to that.
he's always been a girl and envied what others had. My mom's speech started to become more and more aggressive. Sophia sat silent, her face turning head. John next to her looked unsure of what to do. It is so. I raised you with the intention of nurturing family morals. But it seems that it didn't turn out that way. The entire venue was silent, their gaze fixed on my mother, who continued to amusingly expose Sophia's faults while smiling brightly. Sophia's actions were well known to everyone present. Everyone showed various expressions, some dumbfounded, some giving a bitter smile. You understand that your behavior is sent, but only some relatives are absent, right? And with this, I intend to cut ties with you. So this is my last greeting. With those words, the venue fell even more silent. Startled by the unexpected confession, Sophia impulsively stood up. My mom bowed and seemed to decide on her way back to her seat, but returned in front of the microphone. True, take care of such a daughter. I assume you understand. But you should be aware that you, who took her away from her sister, should not feel attracted to her anymore. My mom dealt a massive blow with a slight smile. I started to laugh out loud at John, who was staring blankly at her. As my mom, showing a peace sign as if she had done everything, returned to her seat, I welcomed her with a smile. As the host was trying to somehow handle the worst atmosphere, Sophie forcefully snatched to the microphone and started yelling at us. What do you think you're doing? This is my wedding! At her words, I was pissed off and fought back in a loud voice. That's my lie! What was your intention in inviting me? Sophia started and said, It can't be helped. It wouldn't look good if there weren't enough people right. At Sophia's words, who only thought about herself, I said, That's why you, who only think about yourself, can have a grand wedding despite hitting on your sister's husband and doing such horrible things. You have non-common sense. Sophia, who got pissed off and became hot-blooded, walked toward me as if she couldn't see the surroundings. Trying to stop her in a hurry, John, from behind, grabbed Sophia's arm. Don't let me, because you're not attracted. John chose me because I'm a juror. John couldn't say anything about the fight between his ex-wife and current wife in front of him, because he was the one who caused this situation. Enough! In our argument, my mom, who was nearby, raised her voice. And as she approached Sophia, she glared at Sophia and John with a serious look. I also wanted to celebrate my daughter's wedding with pure feelings. But this ceremony is obviously selfish and lacks delicacy. If you want to do it on your own. And my mom's words, implying that it was a nuisance to be involved. Eyebrows rose from the venue before we knew it. When John's parents, who agreed with my mom's words, left the venue, the attendees followed one after another. The reception was forced to an end,
At the statement of the attendees, both Sophia and John were lost for words.
Take a solemn look at what you're doing.
Saying that, my mom and I also left the venue. Sophia was broken down and crying on the spot, but nobody rushed to comfort her. After reception ended, John's parents bowed deeply to me. John had indeed betrayed me, but his parents were not at fault. It was revealed that John had begged his parents to lend him the money for this wedding. I felt the abnormality in John, who went so far as to cater to Sophia's selfishness. Of course, they couldn't expect any gift money. I attended, but I didn't come with the intention of celebrating. John, who has incurred the cost of this messed up ceremony, asked, "What is he going to do from now on?" But after all, it's none of my business anymore. I have no obligation to worry. Feeling a sense of closure in my heart, I gave a big stretch. Several years later, the worst wedding was over, and I had completely cut off my feelings for the two of them. My work was going smoothly, and now I'm involved in the editing of various magazines as a manager. As expected, Sophia cheated on John with another man after their marriage. It seemed to have turned into a further mess because the man she cheated with was also married. John seemed to be shocked that she was betrayed so easily. My mom's warning became a reality, and I laughed in my heart, thinking it served them right. Both my mom and I could easily imagine this to happen. However, no voice defends John, because the act he did to me is just coming back to him. As for Sophia, I'm so astounded that I'm at a loss for words. Not only is she not reflecting on anything, but she also seems to insist that she's not at fault and everything is someone else's fault. Sophia, who was claimed for damages by John, who was betrayed and woke up and his wife. Sophia, who can't make ends meet with the debt of damages, seems to have cried to my mother, but my mom seems to be pushing her away and not dealing with her. I don't know where Sophia is, who was kicked out of the house by John, is or what she's doing now. Also, it seems that John himself has no one to rely on, as he was disowned by his family at their wedding. He seems to be living a bottom-rung life, burdened with memories of the worst wedding and bad. There were many things I learned from this incident. I'm tired of sticky human relationships. Today too, I faced my work and put my all into it so that I can live happily and enjoyably on my own. My current goal is to master French and make a mark at the foreign magazine editorial company. I plan to give it my all every day for that. During the funeral of my eldest son, I checked the pic camera and found my husband and eldest son's wife in the middle of it in our home's pathway. I rushed home to verify the situation, and their conversation flew into my ears. But is this okay doing something like this in the middle of John's funeral? It's fine. He was obedient and cute like a pet dog. Really, you're a terrible wife. You're the same, Robert, acting like a beast despite being a father. Let's fall into hell together happily. From there, the two, who got heated up, started the second round. The indecent voice of the daughter-in-law echoed, and I retreated with my ears covered. Ah, disgusting. And I let fucking mama sit down. I clenched my lips to the point of flaking and swore revenge on my husband and daughter-in-law. John, I won't let your wife and father who betrayed you get away with this. Your mother will get back at them properly, so watch over us. I am Amelia, a 70-year-old housewife. I married a husband who believed that women should protect the home and men should work hard. And while taking care of my husband, I raised my elder son on my own. I'm a housewife, so I won't ask him to help with half the housework. But he drove the elder son and me, who were crying in the middle of the night, into the living room saying, "You're noisy," demanded perfect housework from me, who was staying up all night due to the baby's crying. And to top it off, he didn't bath the elder son, didn't change his diapers, didn't even try to interact with him. Even when we were in the same room, he was only watching the newspaper and TV, and I got tired of him, father who was indifferent to our elder son in his cute face. What my husband was interested in was not me, his wife, or the elder son who talked with an innocent smile, but a pretty girl idol dancing on a music show. The sight of a bearded man with a belly ignoring his family and sticking to the TV, and being fascinated by a teen idol saying she's cute was not a pleasant thing. Our bedroom where I spent time with him was quickly filled with posters and photos. Plans to go to the amusement park were crushed by concerts. Events were prioritized over cheering at the sports festival, and CDs were played at high volume in the house. Maybe because of such an environment, our eldest son was not interested in women even when he came of age, and there was no sign of marriage even after he turned 30. Just as I had started to accept that he might remain a bachelor for life, he came home one day after his 40th birthday with a fiancée, announcing, "There's someone I want you to meet." She was a tidy woman who wore her long black hair down and looked good in floral dresses. Mia works for a business partner of the company I work for. We've met several times through work, and I've come to realize that she's a wonderful person, so I asked her out. Just last week, John proposed to me and said that he wanted to introduce me to his parents. The fiancée, her cheeks slightly colored, stood bashfully by the side of my son, offering a shy smile. I wondered if she was an introvert too. She barely spoke, but when she did open her mouth, her voice came out as sweet and delicate as an animated fairy. My husband also watched this scene unfold with a smile. I felt like me, a gentlewoman might just be perfect for my introverted son. With such thoughts, I felt relieved. Little did I know that 3 years later, things would take such a turn. I really don't do well with men. This was my daughter-in-law's favorite phrase. She said that because she lost her father at a young age and was raised solely by her mother, she becomes excessively nervous around men. Even when talking to convenience store clerks, she says she gets so nervous that all she can do is look down and answer in a low voice, particularly for typical muscle men with thick beards and broad shoulders. She just can't talk to them at all. That's why she was drawn to my son, who has a more neutral appearance. In that case, my husband with his big body and thick beard was not a good match for her. Well, my husband may have a loud voice and a bit of a rough appearance, but he has his kind points. He's not scary at all, though our tadpoles tend to avoid him. I joked and my daughter-in-law responded with a strange smile. "I'm sorry, I'll try to get used to him." Her way of saying it irritated me. She made my husband out to be some sort of exotic creature. Of course I didn't voice my feelings, but simply replied, "Please do." My daughter-in-law, who was initially afraid of my husband, gradually became accustomed to him, as she had promised. 3 years later, they now share conversations, which is great progress. She also began to open up to me gradually, and we even started going shopping together. And that's when the mask of my demure and quiet daughter-in-law began to peel off. For example, when she stands next to me, people often mistake her for my granddaughter. Even an acquaintance I met at the nearest station for the first time for a while thought she was the daughter of my eldest son. No, I'm Jen's wife." My, such a young wife? How nice. I didn't particularly care about this exchange. It's true that my daughter-in-law has a baby face and could pass for her late 20s. And it's also true that the neat outfit my cat blouse with frills and a navy blue dress suits her. The issue was what my daughter-in-law said after being mistaken for a grandchild. "I'm always mistaken for being young. Sorry about that." As she grinned while saying that, I concealed my annoyance and responded like this. "You don't have to apologize. You do look young and cute after all."
Oh, do you think I'm cute? By the way, you should try to look a bit younger too, by dyeing your hair pink or purple. I was annoyed at her uninvited advice. I'm not a celebrity and it's enough to look my age. Moreover, not to sound boastful, I've maintained the style I had when I was young, and I enjoy dressing appropriately for my age. Actually, I'm transitioning to natural gray hair. I don't think I have the courage to dye a purple at this age. Only beautiful people can pull off gray hair, you know. My daughter-in-law's more feminine way. Well, I don't really care, but I feel sorry for your husband. He started going to the gym recently and looks good, so you should make an effort as well, especially since you are overweight to begin with. I struggle to swallow the words, mind your own business, that were over the tip of my tongue. Why do I have to listen to all this from my daughter-in-law? I suppressed my annoyance and smiled at my daughter-in-law. Thank you for your advice. I'm glad to see that you and John seem to be getting along well. The main reason I resist arguing with my daughter-in-law is because I don't want to be disliked by my eldest son. I'd heard far too many stories about mothers who fell out with their sons because the sons sided with their wives during arguments. It's about the woman my introverted eldest son mustered up the courage to ask out. He did it for 2 years and then proposed to. Whenever they return to my home, I can tell that my son cares deeply for his wife. Despite her sharp attitude towards me, she talks and laughs happily with my son as if she were a different person. Yes, John is so cute. I can't believe he's older than me. I love him. The sight of my daughter-in-law blushing and smiling was adorable, and I felt relieved knowing that they had a good marriage. So, despite my daughter-in-law's aggravating behavior, I managed to endure by venting to my sister. The daughter-in-law of yours has a bad attitude. My sister grimaced, a coffee cup in her hand. Are you being taken for granted, Amelia? Maybe so. Why don't you show some maternal authority every once in a while? If things continue like this, John will be totally under her heart. My sister, who got divorced 10 years into her marriage and remained single thereafter, has no children. Therefore, she had always doted on my eldest son as if he was her own. I remember how she was more thrilled about his wedding than I was. Now, all that's left is for them to have a baby. Yes, that would be nice, but they seem happy together as it is, so I've been refraining from interfering. When I said this, my sister smiled softly and replied, I see. One day, when I was quietly bearing my discontent towards my daughter-in-law and going about my usual way, I finished my shopping at the supermarket and was about to head home when I received a rare call from her. Mother-in-law, something happened to John. My daughter-in-law, who was almost shouting, choked on her words and started to sob. Did something happen to him? Where are you now? At the police station. Afterwards, my husband and I rushed to the police station, where we were confronted with the lifeless body of our son. We were citizens. The post-mortem examination revealed that he died from a stroke. His pale face looked serene as if he was simply asleep. In the midst of our shock, my husband pulled out his cell phone, taking over for both me and my daughter-in-law. He called the funeral home and temple that we had used for his own parents' funerals and arranged a weekend funeral. He arranged for our son's body to be transported to a funeral home near our home. His calm and collected demeanor in these moments was something I was very grateful for. We then contacted our relatives. The wake was to be held the following day, with the funeral the day after that. Even during the wake, I couldn't help but feel that my son would start moving at any moment. I couldn't pull myself away from his topic. My daughter-in-law seemed to share my feelings. She knelt beside the coffin, crying bitterly. My sister, brother, and other relatives tactfully left us alone, leaving me, my husband, and my daughter-in-law to surround the coffin. We spent the night reminiscing about our son, tears streaming down our faces. The morning came, and the funeral began. As I listened to the satra and incense offering, the reality of my eldest son's death started to sink little by little. Just the other day, we spoke on the phone. His gentle voice still lingers in my ears, yet the idea that I'll never hear it again feels unreal. I choked up, and tears started to flow. Among the sporadic sobs heard around, mine was the loudest. As there was a time before the departure for cremation, those of us moving to the crematorium waited in the room. Suddenly I remembered that I had left my tap pendant the previous night, so I started my mobile app for the flat camera. Oh, you installed the flat camera, didn't you? My sister sitting next to me asked with interest. Yes, Jennifer, it's convenient because you can watch from your phone. I was worried about how she was doing. I saw Robert return home a while ago. Maybe he's playing with the cat? I wonder. Our chat is not fond of him at all. As I laughed and looked at my phone, I froze. I even forgot to breathe as I stared at the screen. What was displayed was not a heartwarming scene of my husband playing with an adorable cat. It was a scene of him entangled naked with our daughter-in-law. They had left the bathroom and washroom doors wide open and were engaged in their intimate act. All my streamed unknowingly be at the pet tenor and storming the hallway. I stood up with my phone in hand and told my sister in trembling voice, "Jennifer, I need to go home for a bit. Robert did the car when he went to pick up something he forgot. Will you take the bus?" "Yes, I'll do that." I bolted from the terminal power. I caught a bus that was lucky nearby and enjoyed the time inside with a feeling of my heart about to burst. I got off at the bus stop and started running immediately. I gently unlocked the front door, ascended the hallway, stroked the head of my cat, approached with a purring throat, and tiptoed toward the washroom. Unlike before, the washroom door was closed, but it seemed they were being intimate with the bathroom door open. Their carefree behavior, inappropriate for their age, resonated down the hallway. "Oh, Robert, don't touch me there." Mia's skin is so smooth. It's completely different from my wife's. Women are best when they're young, after all. "Robert, darling, don't compare a 70-year-old granny with a 35-year-old. But is it okay doing such things on the day of John's funeral?" "It's fine. I told you. I married John because I fell in love with Robert at first sight. He was also obedient and cute, like a pet dog." "You really are a terrible wife." "Robert, you are a terrible father too." "Let's go to hell together then." From there, the two of them started the second round. The indecent voice of the wife reverberated, and I plugged my ears and backed away. Ah, disgusting. A murmur slipped out. My affection for my husband had long since gone, so even if I hear the voice of my husband flirting with John's wife in the bathroom, no feelings of jealousy arise. More than that, I felt a sense of disgust at what they were doing on such an important day. And above all, feelings close to hatred welled up at the fact that they had betrayed my precious son in the worst possible way. A cat approached me, curled up in the hallway, with my mouth covered, raised a worried cry, and licked my wrist. "Oscar, thank you, I'm okay." As I spoke softly to the cat and stroked its smooth paw, I slowly calmed down. As I regained my composure, fierce hatred for my husband and the wife welled up again. I bit my lip until it was about to bleed, and swore revenge on my husband and daughter-in-law. "John, I won't let the wife and father who betrayed you go free. Your mother will make sure to get back at them, so watch over me." First, I locked the bathroom door. It was a lock that I installed when my eldest son was young, to prevent him from going into the bathroom by himself. The fact that it was left because it was too much trouble to remove, and that it would come in handy in such a way was unexpected. Furthermore, after throwing their change of clothes in the middle of the hallway, I sent the recorded voice of my husband and daughter-in-law in the act, along with an explanation to my sister. Then I immediately received a phone call. "Amelia, don't send me disgusting stuff. It's going to dirty my phone." "Sorry, I guess you feel the same way, Jennifer." I couldn't help but laugh. Your husband and daughter-in-law were the worst. What are they doing during John's funeral? I can't believe they are sane. I know, right? That's why I'm thinking of punishing them. When I told my sister my plan, she laughed out loud. "Leave it to me, please, Jennifer." After handing up the phone, I sighed. I don't even have time to soak in the grief of losing my eldest son. After a while, my sister came to my house with my brother and my husband's brothers. The relatives gathered in the living room in their morning clothes, wearing puzzled expressions. "Amelia, it's almost time for the departure. Why call us home?" "I apologize for the inconvenience, father-in-law. The reason is this. As soon as I turned on the switch of my mobile app, the mourning voices of the wife and husband echoed in the living room. Oh, it's disgusting no matter how many times I hear it." I had the volume of the camera at maximum, so it was quite powerful. The relatives' complexions changed and murmurs spread. My brother asked me fiercely, "Jennifer, this is Robert's voice, right? And the woman is Leah? I'll take you near the scene." I opened the door to the living room and met the relatives. The relatives followed me, looking anxious. Since I had left the door to the bathroom wide open, the echoed voices of the two people were clearly audible in the hallway. The relatives frowned and spoke up one after another. "It's true. Doing such a thing in the middle of a funeral. They are hopeless. Unforgivable.
Given that John has died, let's cut ties with these people. The noise must have reached them. The two stopped their activity, talked in whispers, and then reached for the door to the bathroom. Huh? It won't open. Amelia, you are in there, right? Open up. Okay. I'm opening it. The moment I unlocked it, the door opened with a clatter. Unaware of anything, the husband and wife came out into the bathroom, naked and not even trying to cover themselves. Enough with these childish flunks. What the? Robert, what's wrong? The two screamed, turning their backs to us. No, we don't want to see your ugly behinds either. Robert, where are our clothes? Hey, Amelia, give us back our clothes. If you want your clothes, apologize to us and explain everything first. Alright, just hurry up. When I threw their underwear and the bath towel at their feet, the husband and the wife wiped their bodies in the bathroom and hurriedly got dressed. When they came out into the hallway with their heads down, the relatives fiercely berated them. Robert, what were you thinking? It's your son's funeral. You betray your wife and son, you shameless man. Mia, you are the chief mourner. Are you out of your mind? The husband and wife, sitting awkwardly in their underwear in the hallway, are severely berated by the relatives and are shrunken. I felt a sense of relief in my chest, but my anger wouldn't be gone by just this. There's still the departure and the memorial service, so I'll be going back to the venue. You two are not eligible to participate. Stay here and reflect on what you've done. We're leaving now, but we'll hear from you, Amelia, later. Don't try to run away. So Robert and Mia, sit quietly away. We told the husband and the wife and went back to the funeral. When I looked back at the living room on my way out, they were changing into their mourning clothes with a crestfallen look. They were just pretending to be remorseful in front of us. When I picked up my elder son's bones at the crematorium, the regret welled up and tears overflowed. The staff at the crematorium probably thought I was crying from the grief of losing my eldest son. They can't imagine that my husband was taken by my son's wife, and I'm shaking with anger. My sister, sensing my feelings, gently hugged my shoulders. We returned to the venue, and my brother took over as a chief mourner, in place of my daughter-in-law. After all the funeral procedures were over, all the relatives except my sister went home. On their way out, my downcast brother spoke to my sister and me. Jennifer, please take care of Amelia. Amelia, you have to keep it together. David, thank you. I'll be all right. I forced a smile at my brother and went home with my sister. As soon as we opened the front door, we heard my husband's vulgar laughter, and we exchanged glances. My sister touched her forehead and shook her head in disgust. I took off my shoes, furrowed my brow, and headed for the living room. And my husband and daughter-in-law, who had been smacking and laughing uproariously, hastily straightened their posture at the sight of us. My body trembles with anger at the sight of the two of them sloppily dressed in their mourning clothes. At this point, I decided to give them a piece of my mind without any reservations. First, my daughter-in-law. Robert, Mia, are you really reflecting on what you've done? Of course we are. It was just a moment of sudden impulse. Exactly. Please forgive us, Amelia. My sister started to speak to my husband and daughter-in-law, who were pretending to be remorseful. I stopped her and showed my daughter-in-law my phone. So are you reflecting on this too? What? Is there something else? Here. My daughter-in-law, who had been speaking in a cute voice and squirming, suddenly in and out on all volts. I swiftly dodged her attempt to snatch my phone and showed it to my husband. What is this, Amelia? What is this? My confused husband read out the contents of the phone screen. Mia is verbally abusive to the new recruits, and the atmosphere at work is terrible. Please do something. My husband gave my daughter-in-law a suspicious look. My husband hates people who verbally abuse the weak, even if it's in a fight, saying nasty things to staff who take time off due to a child illness, pouring harsh words on those who can't learn something in one go at work. 10 people have quit in the past year. We've reached our limit. If you won't let Mia quit, all of us will, from all the factory staff. My daughter-in-law throws as I continue to read. I took a photo of the letter the factory manager showed me. Brother, why don't you tell her how I know about this? Amelia managed to learn where the factory and stuff don't do it. Well, Mia wants, so I'm okay then. She's the lone ruler. I added to my husband's exclamation. It's the land I inherited from my father. That's how I became close to the factory manager and the president. The other day the factory manager came to me for advice. I intended to talk to Mia, but I postponed it when John passed away. My husband looked at Mia, his face showing disbelief. "Yeah, is this true?" My daughter-in-law clicked her tongue. "So what if it is? They are ugly and incompetent. It's irritating just to look at them. There's no reason to verbally abuse the newbies." "What now? You're making me out to be the bad guy too, Robert?" My husband seemed turned off by Nia's confrontational attitude. He only ever saw the surface of Nia. He probably didn't know she was often making snide remarks about me. "Now it's my husband's time. It's disappointing that you would use such an easy language at your part-time job. I didn't know you were that kind of person, you know." I presented a passbook I had taken out of the chest to my husband, who was folding his arms and looking down at Mia. "You act all high and mighty, but you are not so great yourself." My husband turned pale at the page I showed him. He looked down and murmured excuses, but couldn't form a coherent sentence. "Amelia, let me see too." "It's a joint account between the couple, right?" My sister frowned hard when she saw the page. "Money has been withdrawn since 3 years ago. He must have been cheating since then. The amount keeps increasing. And in the past year, he's been withdrawing hundreds of thousands every month." "Robert, were you supporting your elder son's wife that much?" Instead of my awkwardly silent husband, my daughter-in-law puffed out her chest proudly. "John was always nagging me about saving money. He only gave me presents on our wedding anniversary and my birthday. Robert dipped in brand name bags and accessories for every anniversary, you know, like the 100th day of our relationship, or the exact time and date I was born." "That's to be expected. Couples these days celebrate their anniversaries diligently. I love you, Mia." "I love you too, Robert. We have to cherish our faithful encounter." My anger exploded at the idiot couple, covering up to each other. "Are you idiots? After ruining my son's funeral, you have some nerve." My thunderous roar, unusual for my usually quiet self, left my husband and his mistress frozen in surprise. "You dare to drain $72,000 from my carefully accumulated savings. You'll repay every last cent, including damages for emotional distress." $72,000? Did I really spend that much? Hey, come on. There's no way I can afford to pay that back. The cheerfulness from moments ago disappears as my husband's face contorted in distress. Shrugging off the arm of his mistress, he knelt in front of me, pleading in a prayer-like posture. "Hey, spare me some divorce, please. I can't live off just my pension if you leave me." That's not my problem. Even as I coldly rejected him, my husband made a pathetic face and clung to me. "You can live off your father's inheritance, Maria. I only have my pension. Paying for compensation and savings, there's no way I can do it. If you can't pay it at all once, you can make installments." At that, the mistress, her eyes widening in disbelief, stormed over. "Wait a minute, Robert. You said you were going to get a divorce next year, right?" "That was obviously a lie, Amelia. You see how it is. Please forgive me." "You should be apologizing to Jean, not me. Not that I'll forgive you either way." I fired back sharply, causing my husband to slump, his voice on the brink of tears. The mistress glared at my traitorous husband with a face full of rage. All the while my sister looked on with a dumbfounded expression. After the funeral was over, I moved to a hotel, taking only my valuables. As soon as I finished all the paperwork related to my eldest son, I picked up my cat and slammed the divorce papers down in front of my husband, then moved to a pet-friendly apartment. Through a lawyer, I arranged for damages and repayment of savings to be made in installments. If my husband failed to pay, we agreed to garnish his pension. Now that my eldest son and I, the nuisances, were gone, I thought the husband and the daughter-in-law would be happy, but their relationship quickly turned sour. Daughter-in-law, who had been fired from the factory due to her abusive language and affair, wanted to find full-time work but kept failing interviews, so she started a part-time job, struggling with living expenses and the payment of emotional damages to me. The mistress worked hard while the lazy husband did neither housework nor work, instead demanding pocket money from her. When she refused, he brought up her abusive language, blaming her, and she completely lost her affection for him and proposed a breakup. The husband, dumped by the mistress, had the audacity to ask for a loan from relatives, but was refused and reluctantly started working. His work was going well, but the fact that he had an affair with his son's wife spread throughout the neighborhood. Being looked down upon, he couldn't bear it and sold his house. He was shunned by relatives and abandoned by friends, and he's supposed to be spending a lonely retirement in an apartment, toiling day and night to repay the debt he owes me. Starting a new life at the age of 70, I'm now enjoying my time with my adorable cat. Until now, I have been prioritizing taking care of my husband and dealing with my daughter-in-law. Thus, I'm surprised at how free and relaxed life can be when you are on your own. I've made new friends through interactions with others in the same apartment complex who also live with their dogs and cats. It's fun to visit each other's rooms and chat. The sorrow of losing my eldest son hasn't healed yet. Occasionally I meet with my sister and we share stories of remembrance and cry. There are nights when memories of my eldest son flood back after I get into bed, and tears dampen my cheeks. Nevertheless, those of us left behind have to live life to the fullest. I plan to enjoy the rest of my life, cherishing the time I spend with my cat, while keeping memories of my eldest son in a corner of my heart.